Hey, welcome to Mike the Baptist, your favorite podcast. In part because of my friends here at the table. In part, I'm claiming just a little bit.
You need to.
Anyway, welcome to Mike the Baptist. Welcome to H.D. Jones.
Happy Saturday.
A preacher friend of mine who happens to be the preacher at my church. Interesting. Very interesting. If you don't go there, you should come check it out sometime. It's interesting. And welcome to Neil Andrews.
Hey.
Neil Andrews is the Minister of Creative, what do they call it? I never remember the title. They gave you a title when you came there, and I can never remember. It's too long to go on a door.
It has been Pastor of Worship and the Arts.
That's Neil Andrews, another friend of mine. Good to have both of y'all
He's
back.
the music guy.
Music guy, yeah. I don't like to say music guy because it seems a little demeaning in a way, the music guy. Music guy to me is like the guy that does that hand thing that looks kind of like
Bounce the ball.
Yeah.
Back and forth, and that's, they do the hand thing.
Directs the congregation.
Yeah, and it's just a piano playing, and then they do the hand thing.
Yep.
That's music guy.
I gotcha. No, I don't do that.
Anyway, good to have you.
Thank
Whatever
you.
your title is.
It doesn't matter.
On Mike the Baptist, we do our best to talk about Christian type things and faith and all that in a very dumbed down way that we can understand first, so that maybe we can help you understand, or just listen and be entertained by how little we actually know. But anyway, fun is the key. Fun is the key. If you can't have fun living, something ain't right. Okay.
It's in the Bible, isn't it?
That's in there. We'll research that later.
Paraphrased version.
www.mikethebaptist.com. Visit the website. Comments at mikethebaptist.com. Send us an email. I would like to have some email. Here's what I would like to have. I've been thinking about challenging people to send us an email, and it dawned on me that we tell you every week, send us something, but we're not specific. Well, I'm going to be specific now. I want you to send me an email at comments at mikethebaptist.com, and I want you to ask a question of one of my friends here at the table, or me, anybody. And if you will ask a question, I will ask that question to these guys right here on the program and get an answer out of them. And it could be very interesting. I don't care what you send, what you ask, I will ask them, as long as it's proper. Now, we are proper human beings, but it's a direct challenge to you to send me an email with a question for one of us at this table, any one of us, and we will ask the question. Or you can ask a question that you would like for me to present to all the people, and we'll all answer it. It could be fun.
I think we should also ask, especially any of our listeners, if they're, say, under the age of 12, if they would, at some point, get their mom or dad's credit card number and put it in this email and look on the back of the card and give us that special code.
That little code.
If they will do that, we will be glad to send them a free T-shirt or a mug or both.
We will.
Be glad to
That's
do
all
that.
you have to do.
Yeah.
Excellent plan.
That's a great surprise for mom and dad's birthdays.
It is.
It is. Wow. And they would be so happy. A friend of mine, his son, what was the deal? When the app thing was going around real big, his son got some kind of app or something downloaded, and it cost him like $1,000 or something. Brendan Hill, the guy that has a name, his son did something like that. It was a great story. I don't think Brandon was happy about it, but it was a great story. I'll have to get the details. It was so funny.
Wow.
He really racked up some coin on that, but what were we talking about?
MikeTheBaptist.com.
Oh, yeah. Send us an email. Comments at MikeTheBaptist.com. On the front porch today, last episode, we talked about foods that we just are not going to eat or don't want to eat, or, we talked about foods that are not maybe good or favorites, et cetera, et cetera. And then this week, we were going to flip that and talk about foods that, not just foods we like, But like I talked about last week, this originally started developing in my head as a question about how do you make a sandwich. And I originally thought it'd be kind of neat to hear a few guys talk about, well, you're wrong about how you make a sandwich. You put the cheese on first and then you put the tomato. And I thought, but that thought never got off the ground. But then like I told you guys last week, it finally clicked in my head that we should be talking about a sandwich that we like, but why we like that sandwich. And I'm going to get us started off here to kind of lay the silverware on the table, and then you guys can dig in with the meal. So, chicken loaf.
I've already been to,
yes,
I've been with you to Arkansas.
HD's been to Arkansas.
You cannot even like chicken loaf.
There is a sandwich meat in Arkansas. It's called chicken loaf. It's called mock chicken loaf.
Because there's no chicken in it.
No, there's no chicken in it. But evidently, back in the old days, they made this meat product, and it was a mock loaf of some kind. And Petit Jean Meat Company out there makes this stuff. It's called chicken loaf, mock chicken loaf, and it's kind of a gray meat with
lost me on that one.
with a black pepper around.
It's like something you'd see on The Simpsons.
But now listen, let me tell you what happens here. When I was growing up in Arkansas, at gatherings, you would go to the Buffalo River or to a park, or even just like family gatherings. There was always a brick of chicken loaf there. And you take a slice of chicken loaf, 2 if you really like chicken loaf, and you put it on that bread, and then you put mayonnaise on the other slice of bread, and you put tomato on there and a little bit of onion, and it's a sandwich. And that and just some plain old potato chips and a knee-high soda or something is like a perfect meal in my mind. And it takes me back, I know why, it takes me back to being a child in my family, and that always being a part of gatherings is chicken loaf. And we had my Aunt Wanda that lived in Texas. When they would come up, when they went back to Texas, they were carrying a couple of big bricks of that from a local grocery, because you can't, when you get outside this certain area of Arkansas, chicken loaf disappears from the planet.
That's because they have standards.
Well, yes, we don't have standards where I'm from. But I don't want any because I want chicken loaf. So, when I go home now, I'm buying chicken loaf.
When you said it's gray, you completely lost me.
Well, maybe it's not exactly gray. Maybe it's
kind of grayish,
it has a little
kind of green,
grayish pinkish. Yes.
Oh,
hue.
Yes, but did you eat it or did you not eat it?
I did. I think I tried it.
Do you remember if you liked it or not?
I did not think I liked it.
Okay, well, so in the sandwich world, that's my favorite sandwich, and it's because of my memories of childhood. I really can't think of a lot of other foods that are like that, except pinto beans and fried potatoes. Pinto beans and fried potatoes are seared into my conscious forever because I grew up with those two. And the smell and odor of fried potatoes, a little onion, and a pot of pinto beans in the pressure cooker. Mama made them in the pressure cooker. And the aroma in the house, and knowing that was coming, I was about to be full and happy and sleepy.
And that poem that you got to say.
And that poem that all the kids said.
The magical fruit.
And we did. Every chance we got. But now pressure cooking, I think, takes a little of that excitement out of it.
Excitement?
Yes. If you can stovetop boil them for 5 hours, you keep a little of that. But I think the pressure cooker actually, it removes a little of the fuel in them, but they're still good. So, okay, there's a couple of food things. And it's, like I said, it's foods I like, but the why is very important here. So I'm really anxious now.
I'm anxious to hear about Neil because all he eats now is cardboard.
Well, yes, but I'm assuming it's fixing to ooze out of him. The memories here are fixing to ooze out. Neil?
The funny thing is I've changed so radically that anything I ate growing up, I primarily don't eat anymore. It's all gone.
But this has a lot to do with
fond memories.
Memories,
yes.
Yeah.
Memories like the colors of my time. What was that song?
It's called Memories.
Faded misty.
It's from the musical Cats.
Faded misty drips of moonshine. That's not in that, is it?
Faded watercolor memories.
Yes, that's it. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
The way we were. Is
Yes.
that from Cats? No, that's not. Yeah, it is. Memories is from Cats. Musical
believe you.
cats.
Meow.
Lame musical. Okay, sorry.
Okay, food.
Probably yes. I just remember my dad's favorite pie was lemon pie.
Ooh, yeah.
And my mom would make it from scratch.
Mm-hmm.
She made really good crusts, I remember that. And she always thought it was funny to put lemon seeds in the pie so that Dad knew it was from real lemons.
Yes.
So I remember that.
Interesting.
Yeah, isn't that? I remember that. I don't remember having a standard anything except meatloaf frequently.
Oh, yeah.
Not chicken loaf.
No, meatloaf.
But
yes.
meatloaf.
Those two different things.
It's not like you make it here. Everything's different here.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very thankful that my wife is a good cook.
Mm-hmm.
I started liking collards when I moved here.
Yes.
But collards and black-eyed peas and all of that stuff.
Right.
And I know everybody loves it with ham, but she knows how to do it without the ham in it.
In the collards?
Yes, and it's really good.
So
Just nuts.
I have a trick with collards is put a little sugar in there
Oh, yeah?
because it makes a little sweet taste in there. I've had people that don't even like collards will like them if they're a little sweet.
Huh.
It's interesting.
I've gotten to where I don't season things as much as, I used
Right.
to salt
Yeah.
everything.
Yep.
Never peppered anything. And pepper's not bad for you. Salt's not good for you.
Right. Pepper's great. I
So,
love pepper.
yeah. So I get into where I'm liking all of that kind of.
I'm curious about the meatloaf. You've piqued my interest. How is it different than Southern meatloaf?
I don't know. It seems sterile. I don't know how else to say it.
So is there like
Just-
less tomatoey sauce stuff?
Yes.
Less
Yeah.
grease probably?
Right.
Because Southern meatloaf has if there's no little grease floating around in the bottom of the pan,
Right.
you didn't do it right.
Right. Yep.
Huh. So it's more of a. I'm curious now. There's a German meatloaf that has like boiled eggs in the center of it. It's cooked with boiled eggs in the center, and then even wrapped with bacon. I'm curious if there's a German influence up across the
Probably.
Mason-Dixon line.
Probably.
That would be less sauce and more about the meat.
That probably is the deal.
Interesting.
Yeah. I do remember a thing that we made called kulibiak, and it's a pastry.
Is that a rap singer?
That's a neat. I like that. It's
Do that move again.
Yeah,
there.
I'm sorry.
It's a salmon fillet, but it's roasted in a pastry. You bake it, so you wrap it in this pastry, and then when you serve it, you slice it off, and it's wonderful.
Kulibiak.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. That's not German? That's
I don't know, but
Kulibiak.
Icelandic.
Yeah, something like that. Somewhere over there.
Wonderful.
Well, if it was salmon, it would be up in where the oceans are, right?
Where it's cold.
I'm going to look that up because I love salmon.
I've got the
absolutely love
recipe
it.
somewhere. I do have it.
Text me that recipe, would you?
I'd be glad to.
I'll send you back to like.
Are you two girls finished?
Well, I was going to say I have some shirt sewing patterns. I'll send back to you, straight to you. Which, all joking aside, I'm going to make me a shirt. I have a sewing machine. I'm plenty capable of using it. I've made a lot of things. I always wanted to make a shirt.
We look forward to that.
Yes, I'm going to get me a shirt pattern and make a shirt.
I'm not afraid to use it.
I am not. I've got a sewing machine, and I'm not afraid to use it. There's a manly statement for the day. HD
Then you got me stuck on sandwiches, and then he starts talking about desserts, and I'm like,
And
I'm so
kuliak.
confused over. Yeah.
That's not dessert.
kuliak. That's not the word.
Kulibiak.
Kuliak. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, H. What you got after
You
that?
got to throw your gangs.
If you're not watching, you should.
I was
be.
just thinking back to family reunions, and it was always a big deal to go get a barbecued shoulder, and then we get that barbecued shoulder, and all the ladies would be in there, and they wanted it whole because they wanted to pull it off themselves.
Yeah.
And then they're pulling it off, taking a bite at the same time, and then their hands go right back in it. But man, just to have that and a good slice of tomato and some mayonnaise and a big old bun on that thing. I mean, that was just awesome. And then I remember my uncle, he would sit out there and make lemonade in one of those big igloo coolers. and it was all real lemons. He'd sit there and
wow.
he'd squeeze it, and he'd put a little salt and he'd put a little sugar, and then he'd take his hand and he'd lick his arm, and he goes, "Needs more salt," and he'd do that, and then he'd stir it again. And lick
Oh,
it,
no.
You know?
A little extra flavor.
That was some good. That was some good stuff.
It's a secret seasoning.
That was some good stuff, but
It's a salty sweat.
yeah, exactly.
Yum.
Nothing says July 4th like your uncle's hairy arm in the lemonade.
I think they do that without the arm at Chick-fil-A.
Maybe.
They make them every day. They make lemonade with
Yeah,
them.
Wow.
Yeah.
but
What a great picture in the cooler, making a big
Yeah.
batch in a cooler.
yeah.
With their
Interesting.
arm.
With their arm. Well,
Yeah,
I'm trying to erase that
none
part
of our
of it.
spoons were long enough, so you just stick his whole arm down in there. But here recently, Susan and I have gotten on this kick of trying to go to national parks.
Yeah.
And we like
What
to
fun.
we like to hike and look around at nature and stuff. And so we will typically stop at a store on the way in, get a loaf of white bread, some peanut butter, and honey. Because you can't keep jelly cold and all that stuff. And we have been at several really cool places, and all we got is just that little peanut butter simple sandwich. But it's just a lot of good memories there.
Yeah, that stuff attaches to
Yeah.
your psyche there, which is pretty interesting to me.
Now, it's funny when you take the kids with you, because Micah recently had gone with us on a trip, and day one, of course, you're sitting on the edge of a cliff looking out over some big valley, and he's eating that, and he's like, "Oh man, this is great." By about day 3, good gosh, can we eat anything? Well, we got to eat this up now too. So
Yes, can't let that go to waste.
yeah, that's my
Nice.
sandwich memories.
These were great stories right here. We may have to circle back around at some point and talk about some more of these.
Christmas food.
Christmas food's always fun.
Yep.
Neil, I was thinking about Mama, my grandmother, used to make this cheesecake. But she got this recipe off of a box of lemon jello. And it's
Lemon
jello. So it was creamy. It wasn't a hard cheesecake. It was more of a a creamy. But she would make that. But she would also make a pot of jello and let it set up until it was just almost completely firm. And she would chop that up, and then she would fold that into the jello cheesecake. So when you ate it, you were getting these little pops of real lemon jello, and it was so good.
Nice.
But anyway, that was a family thing in my family for a long time.
Yeah.
I tried recently I brought her a little yellow recipe box back with me after she passed away. And in fact, the jello cheesecake recipe index card is pinned to my refrigerator right now. But I tried to make that here a while back, and it just wasn't quite the same.
Did you use your arm in it when you were
I
mixing
did not.
it?
Maybe that's. I never looked in there. She might have been in there stirring that with her arm.
At
I'll have
least
to
her
ask the
fingers.
family.
Right.
See what happened. All right, last quick story, and then we'll move on. You're talking about your uncle licking his arm. I was on the way back from Texas a long time ago, and I stopped on the other side of Paris, Tennessee, somewhere.
Buc-ee's?
No, I stopped at a little place that said Catfish, and it had just gotten dark. It was going to be a couple hours, I guess, till I got home. And starving to death, I had to have some food. I stopped in there, went up to the front window, and ordered me a catfish dinner to go. And I'm walking around the little lobby there, and in the little lobby area, they had this lattice work behind the counter where you pay. And I'm roaming around there waiting for my food, and I look, and you can see through the lattice work back in there where the kitchen is. And there's this table where this little old lady is preparing, it looks like to-go boxes. And I'm going like, hey, that's my food, so need something to do. I'm standing there watching, and somebody puts her a styrofoam box or two out there with something. I guess it's catfish. She slides them down. She gets these baked beans and puts in there. She slides them on down. She opens this lid on this big tub of potato salad, and she dips a big spoon of that. She plops it down in that one, and she dips it in there. She plops it down the other, and then she licks that spoon off, and she laid it down, and I left. I just walked out the front door.
I'm out.
Heading to Nashville.
That's a lesson I learned anytime we go out to eat. When it was my parents and myself, my mom always looked at the kitchen. She always looked at that before anything else.
She's wise.
Yes.
Because I don't think it ever even dawned on me that could happen before that. But it's like, okay, I don't want to know. Okay, we'll take a break, come back, talk about some stuff we found in the Bible.
Do you listen to or watch Mike the Baptist? Do you wear clothes? If so, we've got some great news. T-shirts and hoodies are now available at MikeTheBaptist.com. Just visit MikeTheBaptist.com, click on the merchandise link, and you'll find high-quality tees, hoodies, and even onesies for the babies in a variety of colors, all with the Mike the Baptist logo and familiar sayings from the program. Mike the Baptist is a true labor of love. No one has to pay to listen or watch the program, but Mike and the crew have to eat. So a portion of each sale of a t-shirt or hoodie goes to Mike's local Kroger, Walmart, or electric utility. It's kind of simple like that. In order to keep the program free, we have to generate a bit of income to pay the bills. When you make a purchase, you're not only doing the world a favor by wearing clothes, you're helping keep the messages of Mike the Baptist on the air. Thanks for helping out, and thanks so much for being involved in spreading the good news. What a great planet.
Hey, we're back. This is an interesting section of Mike the Baptist. I guess if you're going to have a podcast called Mike the Baptist, you need to have this section where you actually talk about some things that have to do with your faith and what have you. And so this is all about what's in the Bible. Everything about what you believe is either confirmed or not confirmed in that book called the Bible. And it's a good thing to read once in a while and talk about, because it seems like the world could put a lot of stuff in your head that's not really in there. Kind of like what Inny or Outty does. You know, it kind of flushes out some things that you might have thought all your life that was in there, and it's not really in there. So the same thing about concepts about life that you get, and you pick up little pieces from people over the years, and you walk around thinking, I'm a good Christian guy, you know, because I believe such and such. And then but if you look in that Bible very much, you might find out that some of those things you've got in your head came from somewhere else.
Or they're worded differently.
So it's good to talk about what's in the Bible and hash it out. And okay, end of that rant. We'll turn it over to the preachers now to actually talk about stuff that matters.
Our turn to rant.
Your turn to rant.
I'll rant. So we've been in Matthew, continuing in Matthew, and this particular session has been Matthew 19 and 20. And 19 is where the story of the rich young ruler is, who did not, well, I'm not sure how to say that, did not feel like he was willing to sacrifice and give up everything and follow Christ, which is what Jesus was asking him to do. So as you read that, this question comes to my mind: why is it important to put value in Christ above your material possessions? That just seems, it seems like a simply worded question, and you go, well, Jesus is supposed to be everything, but what is the importance of doing that?
Yeah, I think we have to get back to the reality of what means the most to us. You know, as we get on our front porches and have these conversations, talk about Mama making lemon pie and how Mom used to do things in the kitchen. If I ask you a question, would you like to have a piece of Mama's lemon pie, or would you like to have Mama right now?
Ooh.
You know,
That's good right there.
The little things that they did for us are just reminders of who they are.
Yep.
And this world is a great thing. You know, we can talk about going to national parks. I think the thing that I love about national parks is, one, there's not as many people in them, but just to walk around in nature and to see a huge sequoia tree and then see a small little chipmunk running around and think, who is this creator God that could do these things? And why does he put me here to be able to enjoy them? And as much as I love seeing those things and being around those things, it should cause me to be reminded of how awesome he is, that he would want me to have these things, and yet these things can't ever replace him. And how many of us in our current world, in our current culture, we've honestly fallen in love too much with our spouse or our children or our jobs or our things, and never really stopped to go, you know what? All of these things are temporary, to be honest, but God's not. And we can love our spouse, and we should, but we got to keep him first. And that's really what the rich young ruler, I think, was struggling with. He was trying to be righteous, and he was thinking, oh, I've done all these things. I've done all these right things. And Jesus was like, yeah, but you got one problem. You got your material possessions, and even your pride, that you're able to be righteous. You've got all that in front of just being in a relationship with me.
That's a big thought, where he says you should be willing to forsake your family even.
Yeah.
That's hard. That's hard to get your head around. Of course, if you're in church, you're going to say that. Oh yes. Oh yeah. Because you're going to be
right.
You're going to be as churchy as you can be if you're in church. Because, oh yes, that's me. But when you get off to yourself, that's really hard to wrap your head around. Would you really do that? Can you really do that? And why would I do that? But that's what you're asking, is why, right?
Yeah.
Why would you? To me, it's kind of a deal about, if I really believe what I'm reading in the Bible, if I really believe God is there and that he is who he says he is, nothing else really does compare in importance to that. I mean, everything else around me is just stuff, situations, circumstances, changes all the time. I really should be able to buy into that quickly, and I do, until it gets real personal, until I get presented a chance to choose.
Yep.
It seems like that's where the rubber hits the road. If you really, it's like, you hear about these terrible shootings. They go all the way back to Columbine and what have you, and those kind of shootings. And I've often wondered, would I be willing to step in front of somebody else to protect them? I want to think I would, but would I? And what we're talking about here is even bigger than that.
Yep.
And I don't know.
I'm loving you, but I'm saying you wouldn't, because you like to do sewing machine stuff. So
yeah, I hadn't made that shirt yet. Look, after I get that shirt made,
I just hear the little girl and you go,
you buy one sewing machine, and then that's all you hear from then on.
There's an element.
Sorry.
There's an element in this too of how often do you see the U-Haul behind a hearse?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And it goes to faith. And what is faith? Is believing something you can't see. So if you actually, do you rely on your stuff? Do you rely on your material things? Well, that's there. I can see it. I can touch it. But you can't see God at the moment. You can't touch that. You have to have faith, which again is believing something you can't see. So do you have faith or not? I feel like that about the rich young ruler.
Yeah, so much of this really ties into, we're physical creatures. We're a physical creature and a spiritual creature, but so much of our existence is in the physical realm, and we put so much emphasis on that, and we know we really should be trusting in God more than in possessions, but it's in our possessions that we hold on to so tightly. And it really comes back, I think, to that point: is God enough if all we have is God? Is he enough? You look at the story of Job. All that stuff was taken away from him, including his health. At the end of the day, was God enough? And that's the question we have to ask for ourselves. We tend to think, well, if I love God and God loves me, then I'm going to have all this stuff. And stuff in itself isn't bad, but it's when we get out of balance, when we trust more in our 401k or even in our health. You know, I make fun of Neil, but I applaud him to give up meat and to give up those things that he enjoyed before to be in better health is really a good thing. But are we willing to do those things to see the big picture, the long game? And so many times we're just so in the moment, in the moment of things. And so are we really trusting in God? And it seems like it's easier to say when things are going great.
Yep.
When things are not going good, do we really trust him? And is he enough? That's a hard thing to ask ourselves. When Jesus is in front of the 5,000 and the apostles come up and they say, here's all these people and there's not enough food. There's no towns local. Let's send them away. And Jesus looks at them and says, give them what you have. And they start going, well, we don't have anything. And he's like, no, really you do. You have everything you need. But they don't see that. And I think that's, again, a good reminder for us is, when life is good, I talk about this a lot, but when you're young and you get married and you buy your first house and you've got your first jobs and you start having kids, that's all fun stuff. Now I'm looking at my mom and dad's age, and they had to move out of the big house to go to a smaller house because they couldn't take care of it anymore. They had to sell their businesses because they couldn't take care of them anymore. They had to get rid of their cattle because they can't take care of them anymore. And as we start downsizing, life doesn't seem to be as much fun anymore. But where's our contentment level? Are we content with stuff, or are we content with him? So,
what's interesting is that we're kind of instructed not to put a lot of importance on the physical stuff, on material stuff. But at the same time, we're still here. We are physically here. You were talking about that earlier. We are physical beings, so we have two parts to us.
Yep.
So it's like he never intended for us to, I don't think, be the radical person you hear of once in a while that gets rid of every single thing they've got and they go off and try to preach to the rest of the world that this is how you should be. I don't think that's correct, because here we are. We all have to have a house to live in. We have to have a mode of transportation to get somewhere. We have to eat. To me, it's almost the reverse of that radical thinking, is that if I do put my faith in him, which he asked me to do, if I do remember he's there and acknowledge who he is, which I think's all he really wants out of me, basically, that the stuff he provides me is a roof, food, friends, a sewing machine, because he knows I like to sew. Mm-hmm. It's not a fancy sewing machine. It doesn't do embroidery. What I'm saying is that it's in.
Sounds like you might want one for Christmas, though.
I think balance is the word.
Yes.
And I think you can get yourself really off track in this whole Christian faith thing if you're trying to either A, get rid of everything to show that that you're just totally sold out to him. I don't know. I just think you can get lost in forgetting that you have a spiritual part of you and a physical part of you. And to me, the key is understanding that what he says in the scripture about he will provide all that other stuff. To me, that means what I need. So the point I try to get to in my world, in my head, is being satisfied with what he's providing to me at any given time.
Which
I think Paul talks about that.
That's in Philippians, where it talks about being content.
Yes. Hey, look, I love pinto beans and fried potatoes. If that's all I can afford to buy, I'm a happy camper.
Sure.
If at other times I can put a little other meat in there, some of that kill, whatever you call that, I will. But if I don't have it, the key to me is being content there somewhere. So I don't think he ever intended on us to be too radical crazy either way, Because I don't
Some
think
kind
we're
of balance.
effective as a somebody to look at to maybe pattern what you're trying to be if we're really crazy one way or the other.
I feel like there's a honing of your Christianity, and not that you ever get it perfect, but it's more, when I read those things, it's more like God is saying, are you willing to do this? And I walked through a season where I know God was leading us, and we didn't want to do, every time we do this step the next way, and I'd feel like we're praying and God's going, are you willing to do this? And I'd go, no. All right, yes. And got to the final decision, and it was like, oh, goodness. And he'd go, are you willing to do this? And I finally went, yes. And he goes, okay, I was just checking. And it happened over a year time period of, are you willing to do it? And not, are you going to give up all your stuff right now? But are you willing to do it? And, even earlier in Matthew, in chapter 6, it talks about storing up treasures in heaven. Hi.
Oh, that's the 5. Sorry.
So,
hey.
what? And I read that and I go, okay, that's a basic thing, because again, you don't see the U-Haul behind the hearse. So what is that? What does that mean to you, storing up treasures in heaven? What is that?
I think, again, it's just, we're here in a physical sense. Utilize the stuff that you have, the influence that you have, to share the gospel with people, to love people, to forgive people, like we talked in the last episode. If anybody's listening, we always try to come to some place where we talk about the gospel and how you can get saved and all that stuff. I'd also like to warn people, if you're up at 3 o'clock in the morning and you turn on one of these crazy televangelists that tell you, send $638 and a seed money to me and then you'll be blessed by God, don't listen to these charlatans, because there is nowhere in Scripture that says if we try to live a good life and we try to give to the church, that God's going to make us a millionaire, and that we're going to have private jets, and that we're going to never go to the doctor, and all this junk that they try to sell us. Being a Christian is difficult because this world hates us. As Jesus said, it hates us. And maybe God will allow you to have a lot of money and be influential. I thank God for the men and women in our church that can give more than $100 a week. If we didn't have those people, we couldn't do all the ministries that we do. But also don't want people to just do a math equation that says, if I put this amount of check in the plate, I'm going to be a wealthy person.
Yeah.
You know what God knows about me and God knows about you? If he gave you 2 pickle loaf things, you'd be fat and sick. So you might just need 1 sandwich and be okay with that.
Right.
Somebody else might need 2 loaves of it because they would share it with somebody else.
Right.
So laying up treasures in heaven is really about us seeing the bigger picture, that the things that we have, even your spouse, your children, your grandchildren, are opportunities to share the gospel with other people. With them first, but then with other people. I encourage my wife to use her gifts and abilities in the church. They're different than mine. She's my wife first, but I'm going to share her with the Real Women's Group. Last weekend, I don't like being at home without her, but I enjoyed that she was out sharing with other women what it means to be a woman that follows Christ. So all that to say, God wants to bless us with the physical stuff. But the physical stuff is really just an opportunity for us to love on other people.
You know what the perfect blend is of the physical and the spiritual? When you were in that state park and you were thinking about him creating all that, and you're there in it, and you're seeing it, and you don't own it.
Exactly.
But you're allowed to enjoy it.
Yeah.
With peanut butter and honey sandwich.
Right? Absolutely.
That's about perfect, I think.
Yeah. That's kind of
It's interesting to me that you didn't talk about a memory you had of your truck. and how nice it was. You talked about a memory of just being in the creation, as they say in church circles, and understanding. I guess one, he created, and two, he's letting you enjoy it.
Yep. Yeah.
Interesting. I didn't mean to hijack your
Nope, that's good.
what you're talking about there, but it just dawned on me, that comparison, and it's a balance. The whole thing's a balance, isn't it?
It is. It is. When we trust him with everything, he's going to let us enjoy this world, but it's not all about this world. And that's the cool thing about being a Christian. As good as it is here, it's only getting gooder. I promise you. The kind of cakes and pies that mamas and grandmamas made, they are sweet down here. They're only going to be sweeter in heaven.
Ooh, that's pretty good right there.
Is that in the Bible?
It ought to be.
It's only getting gooder.
It's only getting gooder.
Yep.
Like that.
Nice. You know what? Here's that place where we're always trying to connect to somebody. And I'm thinking about the connection here for somebody who's wondering about all this believing business. Is you don't really have to step forward in these specific steps. You just take one step to the side of where you are, and you're in this. That's not the way you would explain it, I guess, at an invitation to church, but because I'm thinking about people that think they have to do certain things and get to a certain place they're going, and then they can be a part of this. But really, it's just right where you are. You take one step to the side of yourself and where you are, and you find out that you're already in this. And you're in the flow right there, just immediately. Isn't that weird?
Go outside and sit beside the creek.
Yeah.
And think. Let the creek talk to you. Let the sound of nature talk to you. And that's not some hocus pocus. It's just a reminder how beautiful creation is, because that's how beautiful our God is and how created. His sewing machine's better than your sewing machine.
There you go. I was waiting for you to getting so sappy there. I was like, get the man back in this real quick.
His sewing machine
here.
is much better than yours. But
Get your man card
God
back.
will. Paul talks about that man is without excuse because of creation.
It's Romans 1:20.
When we walk out there, we're without an excuse.
Yeah, you can't explain
If
that.
you can walk out there to the creek and skip the rock and think all this just happened without a God, you're a bonehead.
That's a whole nother conversation.
You're a
which,
bonehead.
I'd love to have it at some
It's
point.
Hebrew, right?
It is.
Bonehead?
Bonehead is in that's Hebrew. It's written backwards. Spelled correctly, but written
It's not a
backwards.
witch.
Like that.
Yeah.
Okay, we got to take a break and come back, play Inny or Outty, and collect our thoughts after all that. We'll be back. Thank you for listening to and watching Mike the Baptist. We hope you get something out of these programs and that they bring you a bit of joy and hope. This year, we want to ask you to help us grow our listening audience by simply sharing these podcasts and video episodes with your friends on social media and in the real world. Our goal is simple: talk about our faith and how it affects our lives using common language, just the way people really talk. The message really is good news for people who are already churched up and for those who aren't yet, because the good news isn't something we're given to keep to ourselves. It's meant to be shared. So we're asking you to share this year by telling others about the foolishness and the fun on Mike the Baptist. We're just Christians trying not to cuss.
Hey everybody, it's time to play America's almost favoriteest new game show, Inny or Outty, where we challenge our guests to figure out if a phrase we give them is actually in the Bible or out of the Bible. Sharpen your wits, guest. You're about to be in the hot seat of Bible stuff, because you're the next contestant on Inny or Outty. Here's Mike.
Hey, we're back. We're going to play Inny or Outty. This is going to be fun. I'm demanding it. I don't have to demand it. It's always fun.
It's fun-ucational.
It's fun-ucational. You know, we have a couple of young fellows that listen to this pretty regularly, and Inny or Outty is a big deal to them. So I want to congratulate them for having their mind focused on
And if
something.
they get these two right, they should go get their mother's credit card.
That's right. And don't forget what he said about that. because we really want to purchase your mother something really nice for her birthday, or just because it didn't have to be her birthday.
Yeah.
You get that card.
Mother's Day's coming up.
Mother's Day's coming right up too.
A set of 6 mugs and some T-shirts.
Large
Coming your
mugs.
way.
The large
Coming
mugs.
your way.
And we know the mother likes Mike the Baptist too, so she will be thrilled. Absolutely thrilled. The dad might be too. Imagine the happiness, you guys, when you do that. So look, HD, why don't you start us out? Do you have something to present
Yeah,
to
we
us?
were talking about material possessions today, and my friend Mike said that, God provides a house, things we need,
Yes.
just to enjoy life.
Yes.
So these are things found in a house, one of which is not in the Bible. Okay?
Interesting. Interesting.
Tiles, paint, carpet, mop, broom. One of those is not in the Bible. Tiles, paint, carpet, mop, or broom.
Okay, Neil. This is a little trickery going on from our friend HD over there. He's thrown 2 things in there that are tricky.
Right.
Carpet and
Right.
mop.
And my first thought was, I remember I was in Pompeii, which was right about
That was
the
your first
same-
thought?
That was my first
Mine
thought.
too. Was it not yours?
When
I was in Pompeii eating some chicken loaf.
when I heard,
That's awesome. Sorry.
when I heard the word carpet,
Yes.
and I do remember there are amazing tiles
Yes.
in the floor. That goes without question.
Right.
And they painted things.
They did
I'm
paint
just thinking
things.
from a historical
Yeah.
standpoint. Could be completely wrong. And I asked the person that was leading the tour when the last time they refreshed the paint on things, because there were these colors that were just intense.
Right.
And there was one that was, I think it was called cerulean blue.
I think you're right.
This beautiful blue color.
Yep.
And the lady said, that's the original. And I went, that didn't fade. And she said, it's made out of crustaceans out of the Mediterranean right out back there. So it's like crushed shells
Right.
that they do this blue paint on. So I'm sure there's paint
Right.
in there, I think.
I think there would be.
And I know tiles. I'm wondering about, where the last 2 you said, a broom and a mop.
Carpet and a mop. Oh,
And I didn't know if broom or a mop. I'm curious about that. The mop makes me curious.
the mop makes me curious.
But the carpet makes me curious too.
The carpet is curiouser,
Yeah.
sort of, than the mop.
Broom.
The mop is just one of those words that I get tickled at if I think about the word. So I get sidetracked just because the word sounds silly. But would they have mopped their floor? They had tile floors. So would they have mopped them to clean them? I guess they might have.
Probably.
Carpet?
Well, they steam clean their carpet.
Oh, so they wouldn't have needed a
I'm
mop.
just kidding. Yes.
I was trying to pretend like I was. Yes.
Thank you.
Exactly, Neil.
Sorry.
That's so correct. I think it's carpet. I think carpet's not in there.
That's my initial.
Yep, that was mine too, because in that other list of things, I could see where they would have a mop and a broom and use them both.
So it was.
Carpet? I don't know.
It was tile, paint,
Carpet,
carpet,
broom, and mop.
broom, and mop. Is that correct?
That's great.
I can't see any scenario in my limited education of where people then would have had carpet. They would have had rugs, maybe. I'm sure there were rugs already at that time. They were weaving rugs, but or would they have called those carpet? No.
I don't think so.
No, carpet is the name, a word that was invented by Roy Hill or one of these.
Imagine how filthy their carpet would have gotten because they didn't have vacuums.
No vacuums.
That would suck.
You were like
I
too ready.
see what
You were
did
too ready
there.
for that.
Vacuum
Right.
suck. Yeah,
It was funny. That was pretty good.
That's sharp. Yeah,
I think it's carpet, Neil.
I'm gonna vote carpet.
We think that carpet is the Outty. Is that how we would answer this?
Carpet is the Outty. Actually, mop is the Outty.
Oh my god!
But that's all right because
Really?
we
Y'all were right on it.
at least
We
were
did.
there
We
with it.
recognized that it was silly enough to not. But carpet is in there.
Carpet is in there.
That's so. I'm assuming that's an interchangeable word with rug. Because I can't see them with those knee things and the, when people lay
I
carpet.
didn't say wall-to-wall carpet.
Yeah, they run it up the wall and then they hammer it into the tile.
What's the difference between a rug and a carpet? A rug is smaller, I assume.
I think carpet to me means it goes all the way. It completely fills the space, and rug would be,
That's wall-to-wall carpet.
yes. Is that different?
I don't know. A rug is a small carpet.
It's getting deep.
Mop's
but mop
the word.
is not.
Mop is the
It's
word.
definitely not in there.
So we lost.
We did technically, but we pondered.
Yes, we did and we pondered correctly.
You got down to the two.
See, once in a while on Inny or Outty, you have a word that to me just sounds so silly that could not possibly be in the Bible, and that was one of them, and I missed it. But
You had that gut feeling.
we had the gut feeling. Interesting. It's ironic that today my Inny or Outty is based kind of loosely on how you give out these words, and one of them's not in there.
Yeah.
I haven't used that technique, but I'm going to today.
Okay.
In John, there's this story of Jesus clearing the temple. You guys might be familiar with that,
Heard of that.
being in the professional side of Christianity. So there are three things in the scripture that says that Jesus found when he went in there that these men were selling. There were three things. I have four things I'm going to give you a list of. One of these things is an Outty,
One of these things
It's
is
not
not
like
like
the
the
other.
other.
and so that's your task
Okay.
to
Things not found in the temple complex.
yes, that Jesus found. The men were selling three things. Here are four things, and one of them was not one of them. Cattle, sheep, wines, doves. Okay, there you go.
So doves, I know they are.
You do know they are?
Yeah, I would think.
Why would they be selling doves?
Because that's that song,
That's-
Two Turtle Doves and a Partridge in a Pear Tree.
Oh,
That's not in the scriptures, is it?
it's only when the doves cry.
Oh, good one. Wow.
That was pretty
That
good.
was pretty good. Wow.
No, they were selling, the doves were the affordable sacrifice.
Doves were the affordable
Right.
sacrifice.
Okay.
And sheep
Right?
had to be there because it was Passover
Mm-hmm.
when he was in there. So that leads us to cattle and wine.
Mm-hmm.
The cattle were lowing,
Yes.
but
But was that
that's not the Bible, though.
it's not a Passover sacrifice.
Uh-uh.
Well, they were selling these things, remember?
Right.
Oh,
Yeah, but the reason they were selling them was it's commerce for the it's commerce for the Passover.
right. Right. The wines, though.
I mean,
It's the wines or the cattle.
it'd be kind of like a Coke machine. I mean, people are going to be thirsty, and they will
For cow?
track. Well, there you go.
Kind of like a fountain soda at the sale
Yeah,
barn.
yeah. They've traveled through the desert to get to the.
Temple courts.
That's like that Calvin and Hobbes where they're looking at the cow out in the field and the one goes, I wonder who the first person was that said, oh, I think I'll drink whatever comes out of there.
Exactly, yes.
Yeah. Sorry.
I may not be picking you up real good when you're
Oh,
you
sorry.
get real relaxed.
I'm thinking. I don't know. Which one are you? Which one are you? I'm leaning more towards cattle not being, because I don't think cattle was a sacrifice at that time that he went into the temple.
I don't think so either, but I also don't remember. I don't remember reading about wines.
No, but we know it's part of the ceremony
Yes.
because it would have been part of the cup.
But now these
Right.
guys were selling things.
I know.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I just want to remind you that they were
Right.
selling things
Yeah, but I think they were selling things for the
for
Passover.
for the okay.
So
So the wine wasn't like something that you would buy because you were thirsty. It's something that's part of the,
ritual.
yes.
I've got the answer, and y'all have me wondering about some things. That's how good you are.
Wow.
And because wine was also fruit of the cup is also a acceptable sacrifice, not necessarily a Passover, but it's an acceptable sacrifice. First fruits, which is that's coming up.
Right.
You have Passover, then first fruits. So that was like literally a day, and then that begins the festival of first fruits, which lasts all week. And the wine would have been the first fruit.
Interesting.
I didn't mean to cause so much trouble here.
Well, I'm just going to go with cows.
Cows.
I actually thought this was
Yeah.
simpler than
Yeah,
this. And I
I'll
was,
go with
we're just
cows,
going to
too.
go with cows.
so you're saying
Cows
cattle,
is the Outty.
cattle is the
Outty.
Outty. Wine is the Outty.
Wow.
It was cattle, sheep, and doves,
Wow.
which is odd if you think about that they had cattle in there.
Yeah.
But it was in the courts. When you hear about the temple, you automatically think inside the temple, but these was
Right.
outside the
Yeah.
courtyards, I guess so. But yes, it was wine.
Cattle. Huh.
So cattle, sheep, and doves they were selling in there.
Again, we didn't get the exact answer, but we at least pondered.
We did ponder
So it's encouraging, I know, to everyone listening.
how
That we're not perfect.
How
that you
uneducated we
yes,
really are.
one, you're not perfect. Two, that you do ponder, so you're kind of there. So nobody's going to give up hope.
Yeah. Keep reading. You too can be smarter than a fifth grader.
You too can be preachers and music
Right?
ministers of arts and commerce. No, not commerce. Arts and
Calmerous.
commerce.
Cow.
This is utterly ridiculous.
Yes, okay. Funnucational it was. We're coming back in a minute to tell you goodbye. We'll be back to do that shortly.
Oh, wow. What a great contestant and a fine sport today on Inny or Outty, America's almost favorite new game show. Study up, future guest people. You're next in the hot seat for Inny or Outty.
You know, Mike the Baptist is about a year and a half old or something. Isn't that weird? Time just... Not necessarily that direction, it could go over there, but isn't it funny how time slips away? I don't know why I brought that up, but I'm just saying that I'm well pleased with how you guys have given your time and efforts to do this frivolous
That
thing,
we've stuck with you this long.
and that you've stuck with me this
Hey,
morning.
we do need to go back to last week's
Yes, we do, and clear that up. Yep.
the statement that we made about in Inny or Outty, from above the wicked shall receive their just reward.
Yes.
And we said that's from the Emperor's New Groove.
Yep.
It is a yarn. It is a funny saying, but it's
yep.
not necessarily scriptural. I had to go back and check my resources.
There's a loose scriptural
Yes.
concept
yes,
that could,
yes.
which is what it did to Neil and I. It led us down that
Loosened your
path.
concepts.
Yeah, loosened their concepts up and caused us to trip.
We've been 0 for 2 the last 2 weeks.
Yes, we have. We have just lost across the board, but we've won. That's what's great about
We
it.
miss Jason. I think that's what we're proving to ourselves. We miss Jason.
Well, yeah, Jason has so much of this knowledge up there in his head. It's just. It's like stacked up on shelves, and you just bump it just right, and it just falls right off of there. It's not exactly like that, but you know what I'm
Something
saying.
like that.
Thanks, Neil Andrews.
Absolutely.
Thank you, H.D. Jones.
Good to be here.
Thank you for whoever stuck with us for this. We'll be back to do it again soon. Hope you come back too. It's all good. You know what? 2 episodes. The buzzer has not even been hit. It's still not. It didn't work.
It doesn't.
So maybe next time we'll. There it is.
All right. That
Just
makes me
one,
feel
just
better.
a buzzer
Yeah.
for good sake. Hey, we're just Christians.
Trying not to
Cuss.
You do the same, and we'll all be. I don't know. We'll all be feel good about ourselves for a little bit. See you next time.
Mike the Baptist.